What is economy picking? In this lesson, I'm going to give you a simple definition plus a few useful details, and by the end of the video, you will know what economy picking is and how to start using it immediately. But first, a disclaimer. Economy picking is not just a simple technique, it's really a complete picking strategy. There are many details and nuances, and some of these are personal and change from player to player. If you want to become really proficient, you need to work on a lot of these details, like how to hold the pick, hand position, picking angles, picking motion, isolate direction changes and string crossings, and so on. That's why I made Economy Picking Bootcamp. It's a complete course where we look at these things in detail. The good news is that a simple definition of this system can get you started immediately and will give you some immediate results. So our description of economy picking consists of two main points. Number one, in economy picking we use alternate picking when playing multiple notes on a single string. This is exactly the same as what happens in pure alternate picking, which by the way is another strategy that also seems simple but has a lot of nuances. The only other option when playing on a single string would be to use hammer-ons and pull-offs. That would not be a part of the economy picking strategy. When we say pure economy picking, we are talking about a system where you pick everything. And on a single string, you do it by alternating upstrokes and downstrokes. Now, depending on the direction of your lines, there are actually different picking hand positions that you need to work on, even if you're just playing alternate picking on a single string. And we do that in the Economy Picking Bootcamp. But for now, all you need to know is that when playing a series of notes on a single string, you need to alternate your pick strokes. Down, up, down, up, down, up, and so on. But what happens where we need to cross strings? There are many ways to define this, but the classic definition, which I think is very accurate, is this. When you move to a new string, the first pick stroke should be in the direction of the string change. In other words, when I move to a higher string, I should begin with a downstroke. And when I move to a lower string, I should begin with an upstroke. This may seem like a lot to think about. Do I need to think about pick direction on every note? But the reality is that this can become automated very easily. You just need to go through all the possible motions a number of times, and it really doesn't take long to get used to playing like this. For some people, this even takes less time to get used to than pure alternate picking, even if alternate picking seems simpler at first sight. What does take long is to optimize your technique for high speeds or to smooth out your timing and your tone and things like that. But this is true of every new technique you learn. So we move to a new string and our first pick stroke is in the direction of the string change. That's where the economy of motion happens. You always go through the shortest distance. You never play a quote-unquote outside picking cross string. You never skip over two strings like this. Outside string crossings do happen in alternate picking and in a few other picking strategies, but they're not as bad as they seem. The distance is not that big anyway. There are efficient ways to execute all kinds of string crossing techniques, including outside. So it's not the shorter distance that powers the benefits of economy picking. But we'll talk about that in another lesson. Right now, just keep in mind that you will never have any outside picking string crossings. But let's look at the two types of string crossing techniques that we do have in economy picking. The first one is inside picking string crossings. Let's say that I'm playing an ascending pentatonic scale starting on the lowest note and that I start with a downstroke, as most of us would probably do. You notice that at the time of the string changes, my pick is in the air after an upstroke. According to our rule, I should then play a downstroke which is in the direction of the string change. And this happens on every string. So in a case like this, where we have an even number of notes per string, economy picking happens to coincide exactly with alternate picking. The whole scale is played down, up, down, up, down, up. Now, if you take a closer look at the string crossing, you will see that this is what we call an inside picking string cross, because you only cross over the string you just played. If you do this between two strings many times in a row, you'll notice that you are picking inside the pair of strings. As opposed to outside picking, which looks like this. So, one of the string crossing techniques that appear in economy picking is the inside picking string cross. Again, depending on the direction of your melody, there are many details that we can go into in order to optimize this, and we work on that extensively in the course. But for now, what's important is to understand what it is and start implementing it in order to start building a general automated awareness of this economy picking element. The second string crossing technique in economy picking is sweeping. This happens most of the time when you play an odd number of notes on a string. So let's say I'm playing an ascending 3 notes per string scale. After I play down, up, down on a string, I would have to use an outside pick stroke if I were to continue with pure alternate picking. What we do instead is continue our downstroke to go through the next string. This seems like I'm playing 2 strings with a single stroke. But actually, that's not exactly what's happening. In order to have rhythmic accuracy and synchronization between the 2 hands, a sweep is actually 2 separate motions. And in this particular case, most players even use a slightly different picking motion for each one of these consecutive downstrokes. That's what I do, but I'll explain that in the more advanced lessons in the economy picking bootcamp. For now, make sure that you make a slight pause when you reach the next string and then push through to produce the note on the new string. At high speeds, it does look like a single motion, but it's not. Make sure you work on it at super slow speeds, separating the 2 downstrokes in order to automate the movement before you attempt to bump up the speed. Here's the same thing in the descending direction. So that's it. The rules of economy picking are not complex. As I said before, there are many details that come up as you go deeper, and there are some special consideration for arpeggios, string skips, and so on. But you can get started immediately with what I showed you, and you can refine your technique later. So for now, take some melodic structures like scales or licks, or make up your own examples and play them through very slowly, making sure that you're following the economy picking rules. Even though this seems like an unnatural way to play if you're used to other picking techniques, you will be surprised to see that this can become automated within a very short time of slow, deliberate practice. After you've experimented a bit with this, I'll be waiting for you in the next economy picking bootcamp lesson. This is Prokopis from Effective Music Practice, reminding you to enjoy your practice and be effective.